Right, so this is a war. Right. So this is a war, Bonnie. So finally we're live stream because we've been trying to get Bonnie to live stream for over an hour. We see it, how the FBI, aka a bunch of satanic idiots who keep pretending to be a part of the federal government. So now we have to tell you, everybody knows the FBI is defunct, okay? The FBI does not exist. So that's why we purposely did not reveal that publicly until after Marilena got caught. Because Marilena's been lying to everybody in the family saying that she's in with the feds, right? Oh yeah, no, el FBI me está protegiendo. But like el FBI doesn't exist though. El FBI no existe. The CIA has been pretending that the FBI is real. Why? To catch you. Like and Bonnie Sue was warning Juan Pablito. Bonnie Sue was warning you through who? Through Juan Pablito. I said because Juan Pablito is her son, right? In theory, Juan Pablito is Marielena's son. So he's basically, for better or worse, he's her property, right? He's her property because he is her son. She gave birth to him. He's not an American citizen, really, even though he's smart, right? He's known to be smart in the family, right? He's the one who wants to be a cardiologo. What's his ambition? To be a cardiologist. That's what he tells people in the family, that he wants to be a cardiologist. Well, Pablito, obviously you know that you have to go to medical school in Canada, right? So you know that the stupid US does not count. So you would have to what? You would have to go to community college in Canada first, earn credits as a regular, like an undecided, like non-medical student first, right? Don't they make you go to regular school first and then you decide to go to medical school if you want to? Right. So Juan Pablito hasn't even gone to medical school yet. He hasn't even graduated medical school. He hasn't even gotten into medical school. No. He's like in his second year of community college, right? Is just his segundo año? When did Juan Pablito start community college, right? Because we could just expel him now and just send him back to Ecuador. Because Juan Pablito, remember that Maria Elena and Juan Pablo did not sponsor Juan Pablito. Why? Because he was already too old. Remember, he was already past the age of 21. In order to sponsor your own son to come to Canada with you, he has to be under the age of 21. So he was already over the 20 age of one. Let's say he's 21 right now. If he's exactly 21, that's the cutoff, right? So if he was 21 right now, and everybody knows that he's 5 years older than Bonnie Sue, right? So if he's 21, then 11 minus 5 is what? 16. Bonnie Sue, 16. In a world where Juan Pablito is 21 right now, you would be what? 16. So when you were 16, it was what? When I was 16, it was what? Either September 2016, is in between September 2016 and September 2017, summer burn, right? So in between the month of September 2016 and April of 2017, right? Because April 2017 is when he would have turned 22. 2016 is the year he turned 21. So 2017 is the year he would have turned 22. So yeah, he turned 22 when? In April 20th of 2017. And for some reason, the cat has been deciding to appear on camera. Okay, so for some reason, the cat wants to take attention away from us. Because yeah, he can do that. Because that's a power being a cat. Cats are very few. They're very cute, furry animals, especially one as cute and as beautiful as Fiat. I mean, if it had been Yuri's disgusting demon cat, he also would have stolen attention to be like, ew, that's disgusting demon cat that Yuri owns. What's he doing here? Because we all know they have different energies, since unfortunately, Yuri's cat was a real cat that died and was turned into a zombie. Now, Fried is a real cat that did also die, who resurrected, and is not a zombie. Mm. Yeah, everybody knows we do witchcraft to give Bonnie Sue schizophrenia. What does that mean? This cat actually kind of does stink. Yeah, because every time Bonnie Sue sniffs the cat, he's like, "Oh my gosh, this cat literally smells like heaven!" Like literally, Bonnie should be sniffing the cat. Yeah, like a witch. Yeah, that's what witches do. Yeah, that's what witches do. When witches are running out of magic, what do? Where's the cat? And then he's like, here you go. Yeah, and they start siphoning their own cats. Well, this cat's immortal. Right, so this cat's immortal and he's in Alebrije. So yeah, he looks a little delirious. He's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, because if you're sucking the soul out of your cat to steal his soul, then he starts getting delirious, right? Because his soul is disconnecting from his body. This is the prophet's cat. I just was a joke. He's an actor. Exactly. This is a prophet. No prophet cats were harmed in the making of this. So this is a prophet cat. So when the prophet is a cat owner, we use the cats for demonstrations for many, many things. Just for demonstration. So that cat is alive. I did not suck the soul out of my cat. No, he's actually the soul bringer. Yeah, lots of evil witches have cats. Well, yeah, he's the one who fetches the souls for me. He's my little Nagini. Yeah, some evil witches have snakes like Nagini, as in some people don't even want to hide the fact that they're evil, right? It's like, yeah, I have a pet snake, so exactly. Some witches be walking around with a pet snake. They be walking around in broad daylight. Some witches like to go undercover. They're like, I'm just a regular. I'm a cat mom. I'm a cat mom, and my cat is my soul bringer. What's a soul bringer? A supernatural being that literally brings souls to you. My soul bringer. That's why, in order for my cat to function as a soul bringer, his soul has to be intact. Because, like, how's he going to be going off fetching and stealing other people's souls if he doesn't have a soul of his own? We know that. That's why he's very, very well protected by the body's community. He knew it because, or else he would die. For real. Right? Okay. So for some reason, this person got so stressed out that he started like frantically molesting Bonnie Sue on camera to steal control of the channel. Right, to steal control of the channel. You thought you were like quickly rub onto Bonnie Sue like he's a genie, or quickly rub onto Bonnie Sue like he's a genie. That'll activate me. It'll free me. Bonnie Sue was not a human lamp. I guess some of these people got conned into thinking that Bonnie Sue was a human lamp. Yeah, they're a human lamp. Just rub them really, really hard, and that'll free you. So that's what the FBI told you, huh, Marilena? Eso fue lo que el FBI le dijo a Marilena. Oh, Bonnie Sue ya murió. Es una lámpara. Solo tiene que hacerlo así y lo va a activar. Al verdadero se diga. We did a bunch of witchcraft to get Bonnie so to eat Viet's hair. That's why is the real Bonnie so coughing? Yeah, because it's a bunch of Viet's hair. Yeah, man, and that Viet's cursing with his hair. He is. And you're trying to curse Bonnie Sue into perioding himself. We saw, yeah. Yeah. Right, where is it? Well, you know what? Now we're gonna have to see if that's true. I mean, since Baisu got sex trafficked, you know what? Everybody knows that Baisu got sex trafficked, and the videos are all over the dark web. In order for this video to not get taken down, you cannot physically show anything, right? You can't show any nudity. Oh my gosh, I think it already fell through. So yeah, in this witchcraft, in this demo, you guys, in this demo, we're showing how Bonnie Sue's sex trafficker aunt did witchcraft to make the blood drop. And don't molest Bonnie Sue as we're doing this demo. So right as we're in the middle of doing this demo, you guys, she possessed Bonnie Sue to molest him. How? By caressing his leg, by rubbing his leg. Yeah. After she did witchcraft to make Bonnie Sue's blood drop out of his vagina. Right? Oh shit. I mean, now we'll see if Bonnie Sue's a messiah after all, right? You see, the demon's like rolling. Well, yeah, since you did witchcraft to make Bonnie Sue Godoy, well, since you did witchcraft to make Bonnie Sue Godoy's blood drop on camera, right? Everybody knows that we were playing the intuition game with the period thing. Everybody knows that there's chemicals in that tampon, right? Tampax. Everybody knows that they've been poisoning tampons. They have, as a form of femicide. So Tampax has purposely been poisoning their tampons, you guys, not just to get to Bonnie Godoy as an individual, no, to get to the entire female community. Anybody who has a vagina, who uses tampons like Tampax, yeah, they're victims of Munchausen by proxy because they've purposely been poisoning those tampons. So what lots of witches who know that have been doing, what lots of witches who know that already, what they've been doing is what? Playing the intuition game. As in, they don't wear any tampons at all. They don't wear any pads at all. They just use their intuition. Like literally just intuition, just based off intuition only to see how good your intuition is. Are you that intuitive that you're gonna predict when your blood's about to fall before it falls? Or are you a victim of witchcraft who's about to start leaking, even though they're very intuitive on a good day? So on a good day, Bonsu's very intuitive. Bonsu knows how to survive without any tampons. He doesn't need tampons. He's very intuitive. He relies on intuition and witchcraft only, as in the protection witchcraft that other witches do to make the blood stay up there, right? Okay, now, right. It says, well, yeah, this is Bonnie Sugatoy's period blood. Everybody saw, Marilena, how you were doing witchcraft to make Bonnie Sue leak, right? And you did. They did leak. We all saw. They leaked in front of all of us. Like literally, they leaked on camera in front of all the mundanes and in front of all the witches. All the witches are in teleports. Most witches that are on our side are teleports that are in this room right now. So they all saw how you physically did witchcraft up to squeeze Bonnie Sue's bladder and his uterus to make all the blood fall. We saw, right, that you did witchcraft to give Bonnie a miscarriage? Well, because most people know that in real life, Bonnie actually is pregnant. Bonnie actually is pregnant for real. Since Bonnie was part of the Virgin Mary cult. Virgin Mary. And when did she ascend? On August 15th. And that was recorded in most religions, right? That's why lots of scientists, lots of theorists that are scientists, they like to study multiple religions to connect the dots. What is one thing that lots of religions have in common? What? August 15th. It's a magical number, as in 0815, a magical number. The real Bonnie Sue was born on August 15th. We kept him in there for an extra month, for less than a month. Oh, yeah, no, that's the point. If they stayed in there for an entire month, bad things will happen. So that's why we made sure to take him out 2 days before, on the 13th. It had been 29 days, not 30 days. Well, there's 31 days in August. How many days are there in August? There's 31 days in August, honey. There's 31 days in August. How many days are there in 30 in September? 30. I just whistled when I said the word 30. The number 30. How many days are there in September? 30 days in September. So if there's 31 days in August, right? And there's 30 days in September. And they were actually born on August 15th. And we're just staying in Bonnie's mom and Bonnie Maria's hotel. Like, yeah, they were staying there like it's the fucking Hilton, since they're on the side. No, they were staying there like it's fucking World War II, and they were in a bunker. They were in a bunker hiding out in their mom's room. Why? What were you doing to Bonnie Maria Godoy between the dates of August 15th, year 2000, and September 13th, year 2000? So on August 15th, year 2000, when Bonnie Maria turned how old? 31. Everybody knows that she was born in 1969. So in the year 2000, she turned 31, not 30, because she was born in 69. If she had been born in the 70s, if she had been born in 1970, 70, she would be exactly 30 years old. But she wasn't 30 years old. She was 31 because she was born in 1969. Great. Thank you. We finally came to a conclusion on what Bonnie Maria Godoy's age was that year. The year that she gave birth to Bonnie Sue Godoy. So she was 31 years old. Great. Numerology. She had survived 31 complete revolutions on the sun. Exactly. Earth had done 31 full revolutions. 31. How many revolutions? 31. Because that's how long Bonnie Maria Godoy was on this earth before she gave birth to Bonnie Sue Godoy. The third coming of Christ, it has since been revealed that you did something awful to the second coming of Christ. That's why lots of people are delusional. Lots of people in the spiritual community are still under the impression that they're still waiting for the second coming of Christ, even though the second coming of Christ came and went, right? So that's why we have to expose Judaism as a false religion. Why? They still deny that Jesus Christ was the Messiah. Isn't that the whole debate between like the three Abrahamic religions? So what's the difference between the Jews and the Christians and the Arabs? So the Christians and the Arabs, they agree that he was a prophet. He was a prophet, but was he the Messiah? What's the difference between being the prophet and being the Messiah? As in, they didn't recognize Jesus Christ as the Messiah. They only recognized him as a prophet, one of many prophets, because that is not a cult dedicated all to Jesus Christ. No, that is a religion dedicated to Allah. Allah, God. That is a religion that is dedicated to God, not a cult that is dedicated to Jesus Christ, the one human. Because there are lots of bad cults that are dedicated to Jesus Christ, that are dedicated to using his imagery to spread Satanism, right? Right, like all the white nationalist Christian cults, the Anglicans, the evangelicals, the Seventh day Adventists, the Mormons. Lots of them are known to be sex traffickers. We know that. Lots of the people that like to knock on people's doors, like, do you know about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? As well, I'm a fucking Catholic. Get the fuck out. And it's like, oh, yeah, but even though you're a Catholic, the Catholic Church is wrong. Actually, there's lots of misconceptions in the Catholic Church. It's like, yeah, and I know about them, so get out. Yeah, and I know about them, and I'm still a Catholic, so get the fuck out. So get out. That's it. Get out. The Catholic admitted to you that he's a Catholic. He already knows about all the fucked up things they do in the Catholic Church, and he's still a proud Catholic. Exactly. Get out. There's nothing you can say that'll get this man to stop being a Catholic. Get out. So then they leave. Because I was like, yo, that man is being protected by the Catholic Church. Do you know who the Catholics are? Hello, the Pope, the Vatican. We're the most powerful Catholic Church that there is. The Roman Catholic Church, the one that went famous for murdering him in the first place. Exactly. That's why all Catholics hate you. All Catholics hate the Roman Catholic Church. They're the ones who went famous because they're the ones that murdered Jesus Christ. They're the ones that murdered him because he was black. They didn't murder him because they created this fake story where they accuse him of being an imposter, right? They're like, oh, you're not the real Messiah. You're an imposter. You're pretending. That's why we have to crucify you, to punish you, to set an example for everybody. Why it's a bad thing to pretend to be the Messiah. But he wasn't pretending. He was the Messiah. And what the Roman Catholics do now to save face is what? They spread a fake story saying that, they didn't know he was a Messiah until after he died. It's like, oh, we didn't know. We didn't know until he was dead already. I said, no, nigger, no. Telepathy is real. Telepathy is real, and everybody knows that the real Jesus Christ already had 12 disciples. Hello, the Last Supper. That's historical. Like that's a historical painting. That's not historical fiction. What's historical fiction? Fiction that's based off of history. Historical fiction, like the Vampire Diaries. That is historical fiction. Why? Because it's fan fiction based off of history. They take a bunch of real historical figures and they write a bunch of fan fiction about it. Exactly. The part where I'm going to talk about the Salvatore family. Maybe Ian Somer, maybe Idiot Nigger, he's an actor. Maybe the Salvatore family, shit. Maybe the Salvatore family, a real family, is like shit. Maybe that character was fake, right? Maybe Stefan Salvatore. Maybe Damon. Oh, and the flies are whistleblowing. Look, they're going all schizophrenic. Look, the flies are going all schizophrenic. What flies? I don't see any flies. You can't see any flies. Why can you not see any? You can't see any flies because you're a nigger mundane. So because you're a nigger mundane, right? Matthew, right? Matthew, he's the white guy. He winds up becoming a cop, right? Everybody's like, how does this guy end up staying alive, right? How come this one guy who's a mundane, who's non-magical, because he's not mundane, right? So on screen, Matthew, that guy whose sister is Victoria, a former undead who actually died, right? Right, Victoria, his sister, the junkie, right? Jeremy Gilbert, right? His love interest in season 1 before somebody turned her into a vampire. Why was that bad? Because she was already a drug exactly. She was already a drug addict in her human life. She was already a junkie. She was already a druggie who was coping with the fact that her mother died. And how did her mother die? Shh. Omit that right now. We're omitting that. Okay. So skip that. We're ignoring that. How did her mother die? We're ignoring that. All we know is that her mother died. For some reason, her mother died. She loved her mom. She's coping with the death. she's coping because she did love her mom, and she actually does know how the mother died. And so she does know how the mother died, so that's why she's doing a certain something. Maybe somebody lied to her about drugs, right? About how drugs can open portals, how she's technically a living who's a mundane, right? She knows about the spiritual realm. She knows about it. Why? Because the only reason she knows about it is because she's a resident in Mystic Falls, a town that is cursed, that has been cursed since the Civil War days. That's why there's lots of KKKers who never stopped being KKKers. They're descendants of KKKers. Now, the Salvatore family, just like the Cullens, right? Just like the Cullen. Now, is Cullen a real last name, or is it a fake name that was invented by Stephanie Meyer to bring all the worlds together? Salvatore is an Italian name. You'll never forget that Salvatore is an Italian name. And since Godoy is also an Italian name, it doesn't sound Italian like Lavia, Lavia. Now, for some reason, most people know that Lavia is definitely a Italian name, as in Italian of origin. Right, originated in Italy. That name came from Italy. That's it, right? That family came from Italy and then spread the Lavia name through the entire world, but mostly definitely Argentina. In a world where witchcraft is not real, how do you get to rape the whole world by having sex in front of them? Which was Guido and Bonnie Sue's plan. Which, after everything they went through, it's like, okay, so we're gonna go for world domination. Okay. So yeah, that's what the lobbies and the Godoy decided behind closed doors, that they were gonna go for world domination behind everyone's backs. And so because they know that witchcraft is real since they're witches. I mean, obviously, we're all witches, all of us. It's all a game about who's the better witch. Who's the better witch? Kellyanne Stampy, her family? Are they better than us? No, because you were never featured on the NFL. That's right. Let's go Steelers. Let's go Packers. What region are they from? Well, hold on now. Hold on now. The flies are whistleblowing. They're like our little canaries. Because we don't live in the mines. We don't live in the mines. We live in the northeast. So we need some sort of canary, some sort of animal that can fly. That's good at whistleblowing. A lot better than Fried. Fried is bad at whistleblowing sometimes because you tortured him, you did witchcraft on him, you abused him, you operated on him while he was in the pound. While he was in the pound, you operated on him. That's why you did witchcraft on Bonnie Sue to make him fall asleep past business hours. Because everyone knows that Bonnie Sue never got committed that time. So that time, it really was a false report. Somebody did a false report on Bonnie Sue and he never even got committed. Yet you still took him to the pound. Well, we didn't know when you'd be back. What do you mean you didn't know? As in, you thought that he would go disappearing forever? You thought he was. What did they tell you? Somebody abducted Bonnie Sue's cat and took him to the pound, thinking that no one would ever find out, thinking that people would find out and that they wouldn't care. Now finding out that people found out and they do care. Now are you more powerful than us, the people that actually found out and care? Now what the question is the people who abducted Fried, the people who abducted Fried, who staged the psychic attack on Manisu, who did witchcraft to make Manisu psychotic, even though he was never even psychotic, right? Who framed him for being schizophrenic, even though he was never schizophrenic, who had him falsely committed, even though he was never supposed to get committed. So the people who had him abducted, who took him to the fucking capital, who did all those operations on him in front of the whole world on purpose to try to prove that they had more power than us, right? The rebels. So the capital, right? You, Donald Trump, you idiot nigger, we're talking to you. You, the nigger idiot who thought that you could abduct Bonnie Sue, take him to RWJ Barnabas, do a bunch of operations on him while he was at Care Point, do a bunch of operations on Fried while he was at the pound. And then nobody would notice, or that either people would notice and nobody would care, or that people would notice and that they would care, but that you would be too powerful for them to stop you, which is what he wanted. He wanted people to know, he wanted people to care, and he wanted them to not be able to do anything about it, right? Frank Anthony Ayero Jr. But we're at 31 minutes in. So this is Frank Anthony Ayero Jr.'s minute. It's all about him. 31:13. Do I want the real Bonnie Sue to ramble all night? Or do I want Bonnie Sue to start getting ready in exactly 1 minute, 6:30? At 6:30 p.m., I want the real Bonnie Sue to get up and go. Do you know where? But it's over already. It ended. It started at 3 o'clock. It's been 3 hours already. I'm pretty sure that the protest ended already, and that there's no point in getting Bonnie Sue to go now to that protest that you did witchcraft to make him sleep through. I mean, everybody know that was just one big war, right? That was a witchcraft war. We were all fighting. First of all, we did witchcraft on the cat to make him poke Bonnie Sue so many times that he did wake up. He did. He woke up around 11:30 and he was already fucking pissed. I missed the Harlem contingent. He missed it. That's why Bonsu got angry, because he missed the Harlem contingent, even though he was alive back then. Everybody knows that Bonsu used to be alive in that time period. In what time period? The Harlem Renaissance. And you knew that. You made him miss it. So close, but not there. So close, but not there. Exactly. So close to what? The real Bonisu's Chanka, yet not there. So close, but not close enough, right? Not close enough to hit your target. See, that's how good your aim is, nigger demon. That's how good your aim is. It was so close that it didn't even hit the target at all. That's how close it was, that it didn't even hit the target at all. Yep, didn't even hit the target at all. Because what happens if that one person who faked the assassination, right? The one sniper who was purposely shooting for the ear, because that's why we're the CIA, we're the Central Intelligence Agency. That's how we know that that was a fake assassination attempt, the one that was staged against Donald Trump a year ago before the election. They did that on purpose to garner sympathy votes. How do we know? Well, we're the CIA, so we bugged their intercom. We bugged it, duh. We bugged it with CIA. Remember, like Goodfellas. We Goodfellas you. We Goodfellas you. And what does it mean to Goodfellas somebody? To pull a Goodfellas on someone? It means what it means is that you're following them with a helicopter all around town, and you're waiting for them to realize that you're following them. It's like, I'm wondering if this piece of shit nigger will ever realize that we've been stalking him with the helicopter this whole time. See, in a world where you're a drug trafficker, like Ray Liotta's character, he that's a thing. Is they telepathically told him. Everybody knows that telepathy is real. And Bonnie Sue heard a little rumor that is based off real life. So, in a world where that's actually based off real life and is a little bit of a historical fiction, how is a little bit of historical fiction? Like most of the things that happen in the movie, more real. Is a thing is that they omit a certain thing, telepathy. Telepathy is real, hun. And since telepathy has been real since the Ray Liotta days, they were telepathically telling him that they were hovering on him. That's why. That's why the main character is like he's living in like his own little horror movie, right? Because the main character, played by Ray Liotta, in the beginning of the day, he's telling the whole story, right? Because it's told from the perspective of the guy who got caught years later. See, everybody who's watching the movie knows that it's based off real life. And it's told from the perspective of the guy who got caught years later and sold everyone out. And and he got placed in witness protection program. That's all whistleblown at the end of the movie. But in this scene, that is not revealed yet to the audience, that he ends up getting caught and ends up what? And ends up giving away a bunch of people to fucking witness protection program. We're not going to reveal that because there's a whole other talking point. What we're going to reveal is why. Is that he was fucking scared, right? He was shitting himself. Why? Because it was like 11 a.m. in the day, right? And he was already sweating, right? His body was responding. He was spiritually responding, obviously, to the fact that he knew, his higher self knew, since his higher self is what? His higher self. He can see into the sky, as in he could see into the sky, as in he could see into the helicopter. And he knew, his higher self knew, that it was too late for him, that his judgment day is coming up. Because the CIA already has all the evidence. All they're doing now is following him with the helicopter to taunt him because, dude, helicopters are expensive, very expensive. In order to pay a pilot money to get him to stalk you in a helicopter, you have to be a pretty popular person of interest. You must be somebody who got outright John Wicked by the government, or somebody in the underground mafias who's been targeted. So maybe one of the other mafias that has money, they hired a hitman out on you, blah blah blah. No, not you, really, Oda. No, not you. That really is someone from the feds stalking you. Yep, it's too late for you. They already have all the evidence. Now all you can do is drive around town looking like an idiot, knowing that the drugs are in that car. Exactly. That's why it's like they're playing a game of chess. It's like Ray Liotta's playing a game of chess with the feds. Why? Because they were mafiosos. They knew it. They knew the feds were constantly stalking them. Yo, the feds is stalking you. Watch out, watch out. But in a world where you're Ray Liotta's character, and like, oh, we know who you are. Exactly. That's why the helicopter's following who? You. The helicopter's stalking you. Not his character. Not Robert De Niro's character. What happened to Robert De Niro's character? Isn't he also named Jimmy? Isn't his name also Jimmy? His name is Jimmy in that movie. Something about the name Jimmy, and it's cursed. Why? Because Jim Crow. Ever since the Jim Crow days, anybody with the name Jim Crow, anybody whose name Jimmy is cursed. Whether they're a good person or not, right? Jimmy from Blood Banner, Jimmy from Jack Henry, right? Jimmy, he was named Jimmy too. Jim, Bonnie Maria Godoy's boss, her higher up, Jimmy. Jimmy from where? Jack Henry. Right. We're talking about the fact. It says, look, celebrating 5 years. That's the thing, is that you can't just erase Bonnie Maria Godoy from existence, right? Because she worked at that company for 5 years before they gave her this. Celebrating Bonnie Maria Godoy Moreira. And that's why Medardo was your slave owner. In a past lifetime, Bonnie Sue was born into slavery. And in that timeline, when Bonnie Sue was born into slavery, Medardo was his slave owner who was a dark witch. So when somebody else bought him off to like free him, so when a good white person bought Bonnie Sue off just to free him from slavery, just so he could be a slave, yeah, I just bought your freedom. You're a slave man. I don't fucking want you. Yeah, bye. Goodbye. Yeah, that's what he did. But what's the point? But I left you with nothing. Exactly. He didn't say, listen, blah, blah, blah. We're going to protect you. We're going to help you. Blah, blah. He was like, no, I buy you your freedom. Now get the fuck out. You're houseless now. Exactly. He has no home, no family. You bought him off from another slave owner that was maintaining him since he was sex trafficking him. Right. So to keep Bonnie Sue looking good for the patrons, Bonnie Sue had to stay look good. So Bonnie Sue had to look attractive and not ugly, like some of those slaves that were ugly slaves, the slaves that lived out on the farm, that were on the plantation. Now Bonnie Sue, well, we were witches. That's the point, is that they would torture Bonnie Sue all day. And then between the hours of 6 and 7, they had, all right, you have 1 hour to make Bonnie Sue look good. And then they have 1 hour to make Bonnie Sue look good for the whorehouse. That's why Bonnie Sue doubled. Bonnie Sue worked on the field, and Bonnie Sue was also an escort. But that's dumb. Why? Because on the field, you could endure lots of physical injuries that would make you an undesirable. Anybody who didn't want Bonnie Sue to be a sex trafficked anymore, maybe somebody purposely attacked Bonnie Sue on the field that day so that they could never, be what you wanted them to be. You wanted Bonnie Sue to be like an incubator for a bunch of like demon babies. That's what you wanted. To use Bonnie Sue as your Virgin Mary, because Bonnie Sue is the Elena, not the Bonnie. That's the thing, is they took Bonnie Sue Godoy and split Bonnie Sue Godoy into two different characters. The Elena Gilbert, the white girl that everybody hates, and then the Bonnie Bennett, the slave, that's like constantly picking up after Elena. But what if I told you that Bonnie Bennett and Elena Gilbert used to be one person, and now you're doing witchcraft to possess Bonnie Sue Godoy into closing his own eyelids? Why are you even acting upset? Why are you acting like you just got caught? We're telling this story to all the nigger mundanes that don't know anything about this at all. So this is for all the niggers who really don't know anything about anything about anything. Okay? Most people who know something about something, no. Oh yeah. Julie Plec was a KKK witch who came from the Civil War days, who turned us all into slaves so that we couldn't get the intellectual property. Right? Isn't this the whole point? Trying to get the narrative back so that Bonnie Sue could get the IP back? Isn't this what we've all been doing this entire time? It's just running multiple government operations to prove that witchcraft is real on a federal level. So if we prove that witchcraft is real on the federal level and not just in the state of New Jersey, but in the entire United States of America, then what would happen? Then we would have to revisit a bunch of cold cases because of witchcraft. Because now that the cops are being trained on witchcraft and being told, yeah, we know witchcraft is real, and now we're going to use witchcraft as an element in our missions. And that we've known that Satan has been doing that already since the 80s. Satan has been doing that already since the 80s. And that we have now won the war. Bum, 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 bum. As in, that's it. We have now won the war. See, that's why I purposely started. You see, now I purposely started disturbing my own flies to get them to whistle blow. So now Bonnie Sue's now purposely disturbing his own flies. You see one fly there in the middle. Right? Because the what? Because this ring light is on. And because this ring light is on is so bright, it's blinding. It's blinding you to the fact that there's lots of flies in this room right now. What if we don't turn it off, just change color to do color theory experiments? Let's do exactly. Now that we changed the color to this, how many flies can you see now? No, through the camera, nigger. We know that you're in this room stalking Bonnie, so we know it. But thanks for admitting it. That this nigger idiot demon, what did he do? Instead of looking through the camera, right? Instead of looking through the camera, right, to pretend to be one of the civilians, no, he's outright possessing Bonnie's suit too. Exactly. We did it. We caught you. See? So, what would a normal civilian who knows who Bonnie Sue is do? A normal civilian who knows who Bonnie Sue is, who isn't a witch, right? What they would do is what? They would look through the camera and look right at the live stream. Right, they would look right at the live stream. They would. But you didn't look at the live stream. What did you do? You possessed Bonnie Sue Godoy to look through his eyes, explaining to people how we know that witchcraft is real because somebody did witchcraft on Bonnie Sue to possess him. To look through his eyes. So you've been looking through somebody else's eyeballs there. Wow, that's quite a serious offense in the spiritual world. Everybody knows that we already know that witchcraft is real, so real that Satan lied about once upon a time. He lied about all that being fake. The truth is that all of that is real. Once upon a time is a whistleblow about how the evil queen. Exactly. I mean, that really is a fictional character. The one played by, right, Regina Mills, right? That's the thing is, she wasn't the real evil queen, right? She was a human being. Regina Mills, that was her name. She was Regina Mills. Regina, as in, why do they call her Regina? There's something about the name Regina. They called her Regina for a reason. There's something about the name Regina that has, isn't that an Italian? Regina sounds like an Italian name. Something about Italy, Regina, Regina, the word Regina Phalange. I'm Regina Phalange. Oh no, no. They summoned Regina Phalange. Why? The whistle blow that the dog that's named after Phoebe Buffay, my alias, which I know about since I'm the real Phoebe Buffay and I'm a witch. I'm the real Phoebe Buffay. I'm a witch. Boom. And I sent my alias Regina Phalange to do what? To expose herself to you as a CIA agent. Regina Phalange is an actual alias that she uses, but what? An obvious alias. Why? Because that's not a real Italian name. That's the point. Anybody who tries to infiltrate the entire country of Italy as an Italian citizen, be like, "Hi, my name is Regina Phalange." Okay, yeah, Regina Phalange. And what table are you seated at, Miss Regina Phalange? Do you know which table you're at? Or do you want me to look up your name so that I have no choice but to look up your name for this event to see if you were even invited to this event, Regina Phalange, right? Because it feels like if you're saying, I'm Regina Vanderbilt. Oh, I'm Regina Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Are you? I, I didn't even know they were Italian. The Vanderbilts, they're Italian. I didn't even know that they were Italian. Yes, I married into the family. Because the Vanderbilts are a real family. The Waldorfs, now they're real. How do we know that the Waldorfs are real? Because Bonnie Sue got spotted. Bonnie Sue Godoy going all schizophrenic right outside the Waldorf Hotel. Wait, so they're not a fake family? They're a real family, the Waldorfs? That's why. Oh, that's why everybody from the Upper East Side lit the fuck up because everybody knows that Gossip Girl is real. But Gossip Girl was what? In the world where Gossip Girl is just a TV show that's based off of a book that's based off of real life, right? So Gossip Girl is that novel that's based off of the real Gossip Girl, who's described to be some sort of like incel, like lonely boy, that's a hacker, tech whiz that decided to design a whole website. But that's the thing is that they're a hacker that's entertaining. They're a very good writer. So since they're a very good writer, their posts are very entertaining. It's a tell-all from someone who infiltrated the Upper East Side, some scholarship boy, right? Some incel lonely boy who's in there on a scholarship is gossiping about all of the Upper East Siders and making money off of it through AdSense, of course. Daniel Humphrey, and that's why. Well, now we have to insert ourselves, the Humphreys, because now we have to whistleblow what? That Humphrey is also a very real family name, Bonnie Sue, not a fake name that was invented by Cecily Van Strong or whatever the fuck her name is, right? The person who popularized the novel, right? The person who wrote the novel Gossip Girl, and then it got turned into a hit TV show starring Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. Right, that's why they're trying to tear his name down by trying to tear her down because they're established, in the lexicon, they're established, to be known as what? As a very happy couple. So they're known to be one of those couples that's like actually happily married, as in they actually love each other. And right, and you're trying to ruin their little empire, right? Justin, you know who. Right, and you're trying to ruin Bonnie Sue because Bonnie Sue's under his program, Deadpool. Well, yeah, he's the Avengers. Everybody knows that Deadpool was like, was he? He was like a military project, right? He was like a whistleblower who got turned into like this deformed piece of shit, so that he could never claim, allegiance with the United States military because he's with the United States military. Wait, no, he was famous within the military. So since that guy was famous from within the military, all the ex all the ex-military people, all the people that were honorably discharged, and all the people that were dishonorably discharged, and all the people that are still serving in the military that were never discharged, still know who this guy is slash was. Exactly. They still know that you can't erase him from existence. So that guy who was a military brat, something happened to him, right? They recruited him for some stupid experiment, right? Because he found he had cancer. Oh, he's one of those military brats that had cancer. And they're like, you know what? Because they're so important to us, actually, we're going to tell you about this government. Yes, it's a government experiment on curing cancer. Says you're a veteran who has cancer and we want you to stay serving. Exactly. We don't want you to die. We want to cure your cancer. Right. That's what they told him to get him to sign the contract. And then after he signed the contract, once he was, and remember, he's a military agent with training. We know that this man has combat training. So, right, what's the point? Is to wait until he physically can't defend himself. Wait until he's under. Wait until they give him so much anesthesia that he physically knocks out to telepathically tell him once he's, yeah, and now you're paralyzed. Now you can't move. Now there's nothing you can do. That's the point, is that he used magic to wake himself up. Telepathy is real. Even though he was physically unconscious, his subconscious was still awake. So that's why they had that whole scene take place in the movie, right? Isn't that what happens in the movie? In the movie, he wakes up in the middle of the operation and like they're doing something evil to him or somebody else, or maybe they're just about to start operating on him, and then he wakes up while in the middle of operating somebody else. Wasn't he already deformed when he woke up, Ryan Reynolds' character? How did Ryan Reynolds become looking so deformed? Since at the start of the movie, we know that he's a military brat who doesn't look deformed at all, right? So how does he end up looking deformed and putting on a mask? Because he feels so ugly, right? He doesn't feel ugly. He knows that he's beautiful. He doesn't feel ugly. He knows that he's not ugly. Sometimes he feels ugly only because society makes him feel ugly because he's physically deformed. Because he's physically deformed and he lives in a society that only operates by what? By conventional beauty, the golden ratio, all that shit that we've been trained about by scientists, right? That dictate whether someone's actually beautiful or not. Look at the golden ratio, look at their eyes, look at this, look at that. They're obviously meant to be beautiful in this life. And everybody's like, oh, look at this guy. He was in the military. They clearly did an operation on him. He was always beautiful. I mean, look at this guy. Look who he used to be before he got turned into a deformed person. He used to be beautiful. He was never meant to be that way. Before the military made him look deformed on purpose so he could never go undercover, so he could never infiltrate American media because he was known to be attractive. He was known to be someone so attractive that some people said, who knows, maybe you could infiltrate Hollywood. Maybe you can become an industry plant. Yeah, we'll take you in, Wade Wilson, or what the fuck his name is. Wade Wilson. That's the name of Wade Wilson. Isn't that the name of his agent of his government name? It's like, don't worry, Wade Wilson, you could infiltrate Hollywood. We can make you like an industry plant. He has a combat training and he's very attractive since he's played by Ryan Reynolds. Yes, and Ryan Reynolds was voted as sexiest man alive for Vanity Fair, and that matters. Can I tell you that it actually matters when a bunch of piece of shit CEOs start walking? So who's going to be the sexiest man alive for this year's issue? And since they realize that actually lots of people are retarded and actually listen to that shit, that it actually matters. Exactly. Everybody knows that he was voted sexiest man alive for that year, just for that one year, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, and then he got cast as Deadpool, so he doesn't have to be the sexiest man alive. He's like, that's the point. Is I don't have to be sexiest man alive because he's Deadpool. He's supposed to be the most deformed man alive. That's the point. Is that everybody knows that method acting always works, right, Ryan Reynolds? So some people who aren't out and proud as method actors, like Daniel Day Lewis or Bicycle Godoy, method always wins. Method actors are Oscar winners. Right, so I don't know if Ryan Reynolds has been campaigning to win an Oscar anytime soon. I don't know why. It doesn't feel. I feel it feels like to me like, will he ever win an Academy Award within this lifetime? Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, obviously not while you're still owned by Marvel, right? That's right. In a world where Bonnie Sue is telling you outright, "Yeah, Romero, I'm not your dancing monkey. I'm not your slave." Because that's what Bonnie Sue slavery was. That's what Bonnie Sue slave owners would do to him. Because Bonnie Sue was always a gifted and talented EGOT, right? He was always meant to be a pioneer of sorts. He's the first free man who ever became an EGOT. Please, everybody in the black community knows who Bonnie Sue is. Is that in his past life, Bonnie Sue was the first black man to be an EGOT. Now let's see who's the first black person in all of history to become an EGOT. Let's Google that right now and see who that is who's stealing Bonnie Sue's spot. Because the real black EGOT is Bonnie Sue Godoy. The first black person who has ever become an EGOT in EGOT history is Bonnie Sue Godoy. The EGOT cult knows this. There's a whole cult dedicated to EGOTs, the people who have been pre-decided by society on becoming an EGOT. Who's going to become an EGOT and who's not going to become an EGOT? See, we purposely told Manuel Miranda that he is an EGOT. At least that he has the capability of becoming one. But will you actually ever become one? Because we can rig it against you. Like, we could rig it against him any fucking year. Like, we made sure he didn't win for Milan, and that was not rigged, right? So that was not rigged. Like, we're not going to say that he was snubbed, right, Lemon? So yeah, we're going to tell you we're not meant to win for Milan. You are meant to win for something else, and that's the point, is to keep him just like that in that position, the position that he's in now. That's the point, is to keep him exactly like how he is, just like how he right now, Emmanuel. Because I'm watching you. I'm watching all of you. This is with the CIA. Right? Like, why couldn't you just fucking direct your own movie, right, Lin-Manuel Miranda? Since that's technically his IP. I mean, that's technically his intellectual property, right? In the Heights, he's the one who wrote the fucking book. He wrote the fucking score. According, wait, then who's Alex Lacamoire? Isn't he the director though? I'm pretty sure he's a director. Who directed Hamilton? Who wrote the score to Hamilton? And who was Lin-Manuel Miranda? Who's it's my musical, blah blah blah. I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda. Right? Everybody's trying to convince Lin-Manuel that he's the most powerful one when it comes to the production of Hamilton. Who's the producer? Who's the producer? Who owns the rights? Maybe somebody bought him out of his own fucking musical, like Taylor Swift. So while Taylor Swift was still a minor, they bought her out of her own fucking, and now they're celebrating that she finally got her masters back. But she's a fucking KKK or evil witch, so no one cares. That's the point, is to set her up as the fake Cinderella, the fake sex trafficking victim who got bought out of her fucking masters just to buy it back before she turned 40 to prove that she was never a real victim. Bonnie Sue is an EGOT composer who's been ghostwriting for 50 Cent. Exactly. He's been ghostwriting since he was a literal baby. That's how much of a prodigy he is. Oh, he's been bragging about how they're going to do that for an SNL skit. They're going to do an SNL skit all about ghostwriters. Is there's a cult like this is all for the ghostwriters who become famous one day, like Sia. So Sia was a ghostwriter who ended up becoming her own musician, right? Not only was she a ghostwriter who ghostwrited for Madonna, right? That's how she became famous. She was a famous ghostwriter who was like, you know what? I'm done ghostwriting. I'm gonna write for myself, right? That was her claim to fame, is that she was already known for writing for a bunch of celebrities on the download, like Madonna, because everybody had been known that Madonna's so untalented that she could never write her own music. So she was known for having ghostwriters. She was. So lots of people like to lie and say that they ghostwrited for Madonna. Sia never ghostwrited for Madonna, never. She just got away with lying about it because Madonna let her lie about it to take away credit from the actual ghostwriter, the one who actually ghostwrote for Madonna, just to bury her real ghostwriter even further. Yep, just to bury her ghostwriter even further. She decided to lie and say that Sia was a ghostwriter, but Sia was never a ghostwriter. Bonnie Godoy was, and because Bonnie Godoy was your ghostwriter. Can we finally look it up now? Wasn't it? Wasn't it Jesse Jackson? Now let's play this game. Let's play the Google game where we Google something and we'll look it up to see if it's actually true or not. So now we're gonna actually do that game since Bonnie Sue lost out on the protest. Bonnie Sue was saying there's no way you're gonna get me to like get ready in the last 45 minutes, right? Because it was Frank Anthony Ayero's birthday time, or partially. It was 6:31 p.m. So at 6:31 p.m., Frank Ayero said, 13 seconds in, exactly at 31 minutes and 13 seconds into that was a collab between Bonzo Godoy and Frank Anthony Ayero Jr., right? 13 seconds. We all know the power of the number 13, right? The Jersey Devil 13. And everybody knows that 31 is 13 backwards. What's 3, 1, 13 backwards? That's why they're sister numbers. Because the number 31 and the number 13, it's the exact same digits. It's the exact same integers backwards. So witches do that. That's like a sigil slash variable slash integer in irrational numbers. That's why 3.13 is another rational number. 3.13. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. blah 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 blah. Yes, Your Honor, we're here. We're ready. Yeah, we're here, Your Honor. Right. So that is a real irrational number that is being kept a secret. But we are purposely whistleblowing the first three integers, aka the most meaningless ones. That's just what you do to summon the portal. 3.14, that's what you do to summon the portal. 3.18, that's what you do to summon that portal. And everybody knows that that's the autism portal. That's why, exactly. If you purposely summon the autism portal, 3.18, boom, that's it. You said it out loud. You said it aloud in front of a mirror. Exactly. Cataptromancy. Everybody knows that mirrors are a form of what? Divination, because mirrors are portals, but only if it's an enchanted mirror. That's why we explain this to all the mundanes to save their lives, because some mundanes go psychotic for real. They start thinking that their mirrors are portals when they're not, because that mirror used to be a portal and I deactivated. Now you're trapped in a hospital in Cleveland. Sorry, honey. That was a decoy, like we told you, right? And I also blew through one of Bonnie's family members, one of Bonnie's relatives, right? And who did Bonnie speak to today that's in his family, quote unquote? Three people. Johnnycito David, Tammy, and Danny. We did not speak to Edu at all. I don't have Edu's number. Edu who? Who's Edu? Edu, edu, as the short for education. Edu. B Godoy at sva.edu, because everybody knows that although SVA had already established that they have transgender staff members who definitely use non-binary pronouns. 707. 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds. At an hour, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds, I'm telling you. Did she lie about her birthday time so you couldn't look up her chart? Or was she being honest in front of Bryn and Nia? Because that wasn't a one-on-one conversation between, well, that's the point. I thought she was like telepathically right. So in Bonnie Sue's head, in Bonnie Sue's fucking schizophrenic, retarded little head, no offense, Bonnie Sue thought that Lamp was what? Lying about her birthday on purpose? To fuck up Bonnie Sue's witchcraft. Because obviously at one point everybody knew that what? That at one point Bonnie Sue would self-identify as a witch, which happened already. Bonnie.s.witch. A naming convention. To joke about how they're a switch. Who's a witch? They're a switch witch. Exactly. They're a witch that can be a dom and a sub. And that's why they're actually very, 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 very important in the BDSM community. Because, yeah, the doms of the world need them and the subs of the world need them, right? All the doms of the world need them to act all subservient and retarded for you. To feed your fantasy, to feed your ego. And all the subs need them. All the subs need them to do what they do as a dom. To feed your fucking retarded fantasy and to rehabilitate you into the real world. Lord knows that the BDSM community is one satanic nightmare created by sex trafficking victims, right? That's the cycle. Sex trafficking victims, they become BDSMers to either perpetuate the cycle or to break the cycle. Right? Smitten. Don't worry, that's not your government name. And that's why everybody uses code names in the BDSM community. Why? Well, because lots of us are consenting adults that are what? Victims of kink shaming. Right? Some of those are known to have what? Right? Kira. Right? Kira, that one girl who's 100% a sex trafficker. Who knew who Bonnie Sue was? I mean, that's the whole point of the sex trafficking, right? Was to pretend that you don't know who Bonnie Sue is, that they're just some random 19-year-old pretending to be 21. That's why everybody knows that those guys are Satan as sex traffickers, right? Sam, that Sam girl, and not Sam Ashley. We're talking about the other Sam, the Sam that's from Nassau County. That they said, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's how we know each other." How do you guys? Oh, we went to a high school for deranged kids. They admitted it to Bonsu. That Sam girl got pregnant while she was still in high school. She got impregnated by some like light to mid skinned Asian because he's not a wish like Kriti. Mm, no, no. Kriti self identifies as Asian because yeah, I know. Because some white supremacists, yeah, because lots of white supremacists love her. Like they love to pimp her off as some, yeah, as their porcelain, right? White, that's white. Well, yeah, because she's Asian, right? So it's like white like porcelain. Because the Mings, right? To get back at the Mings, right? Since we're the ones who popularized porcelain. I mean, that's why we make fun of you, Yuri. How's that niggery porcelain throne of yours, Yuri? Yuri is a prey. Yeah, now we're poking fun at you, Yuri. You're the one who self-identifies as a Japanese, right? Doesn't he self-identify as an Asian, as like a brown Asian? Isn't he like, yeah? Isn't that like his biggest claim to fame is that he's like a brown Asian that was like born into wealth by his rich family? I mean, everybody knows that he bought his way into SBA and like he hired a bunch of animators to work on his thesis, and he lied. I mean, everybody knows that Lamp definitely animated that thesis. I mean, because that's Lamp's finger crying for help. I mean, anybody that actually takes the time to watch Yuri's thesis to analyze it knows what that Lamp was getting tortured while it was getting animated. I mean, Yuri was like telepathically torturing Lamp the whole time since senior year, since Lamp's senior year, right? Since Lamp and Yuri graduated in 2020 toll in that fake simulation where Yuri got to keep his degree, right? So there's this one simulation where Yuri gets to keep his degree because he never got caught for sex trafficking by Godoy, another alum with the Towns by proxy who never got to graduate. Well, that's the point. As is that in the future, Banisu they tried to buy him off with an honorary doctorate. He's like, yeah, no, since you were sex trafficked by a bunch of SVA students, we have no choice but to give you an honorary doctorate. But that's the point, is that they frame it like that. We have no choice but to give you an honorary doctorate. That's the point. Is that they were coerced by the feds. That's why everybody found out that they got coerced by the feds to give Paisu an honorary doctorate. As in, you guys are the ones. You guys are the ones that sex trafficked Bonnie Sue, and now you got caught sex trafficking Bonnie Sue. So now you're gonna try to pretend to not sex traffic. You're gonna pretend that you cared about him, right, for the public so you can keep making money. Since everybody knows that SBA is a for-profit school. Exactly. You're not a nonprofit. You're a for-profit. As in, you guys don't get any federal funding. You're just relying on your satanic benefactor. Right. Disney. You're hoping that your satanic benefactor Disney doesn't get exposed. But the second somebody whistleblowers 11313, right? 1 hour and 13 minutes and 13 seconds, right? January 13th, right? Who was born on January 13th? I don't know, a certain somebody. A certain somebody was born on January 13th. And I told this certain somebody who was born on April 13th. Wasn't that happen? Didn't that happen on April 13th? On one of the 13ths, either April 13th or May 13th or June 13th. Now, what happened on June 13th, one of the 13ths? What happened on June 13th, 2025? How Walt Disney, what happened on June 13th, 2025? Yet another event that you made Bonnie Sue sleep through. Yep, yet another event that you made Bonnie Sue sleep through. Yeah, that sounds like a motorcycle, not a helicopter. That's the point. Not all the Satanists are getting paranoid, and they're purposely trying to check to see if there's any helicopters in the area, just like when Ray Liotta got caught with his sex trafficking ring, right? What if they change the story to make them look sympathetic, the good fellas? Oh, we're good fellas. We're good fellas. You guys aren't good fellas because you guys are sex trafficking. You guys aren't any regular schmegular Italians that like to drug traffic. No, you guys are Italians that like to sex traffic. You like to fucking kidnap innocent girls. And you like to sell them off to Jeffrey Epstein and to make money. So you guys are one of Jeffrey Epstein's people, huh? That's why in real life, Martin Scorsese is going to tell you right now that telepathy is real, just like it is now, just like it was back then. And there's no number to whistle that Martin Scorsese is here, right? What's his birthday time, right? We don't know because we're stalking through Bonnie Sukutoi's eyes right now. Since we've all been stalking through Bonnie Sukutoi's eyes right now, we don't know when his birthday is. Since we purposely have been not looking it up for this game, we're playing the Google game. This is the Google game, you guys. The Google game. Where a bunch of witches like to what? They like to Google a bunch of things, but they like to do divination with the real Allah. So they do divination with the real Allah to see if that was lied about or not. And then we find out what happens after we find out that it was lied about. Starting new stream. Everybody knows that you have to start a new stream with a new title, right? New stream, new title. Yeah, the second the topic changes, you have to start a new stream, new title, new YouTube video, right? That's why your mistake is that you kept streaming from the same thing that happened earlier that day. What you were supposed to do is to end the stream, boom, end the stream. Get ready with me, protest edition, and actually, right, and post that on YouTube. Oh, look, they got ready. On the new stream, boom, I'm leaving now. Surveillance edition. Let's see what they do while I'm gone. Surveillance edition. So that's part of Biasu's new YouTube channel. So what Biasu is going to do is what? Well, we all know that at 6:30, Frank Ayuro said, at 6:31, Frank Ayuro said, I want Biasu to get ready right now, and I want it to get on the 10:15. I want it to get on the 17th. I want to go straight to New York City to see what's happening. But the point is that Biasu already knows that the comrades are telling him on another channel as if don't do that. It'll be too late. By the time Biasu shows up, it will have dispersed. Right? What's the point of getting Biasu to show up after the protest has dispersed already to get him to yell? 1 hour, 18 minutes. Exactly. It's 18. It's the autistic minute. And how about I close your eyes instead? Yeah, instead of you closing my eyes, I'll just close your eyes. That's the thing. It's the autistic minute, so you know what has to happen, right? Yeah. All this. Now they're swarming. Not yet. Not yet. Don't end the stream yet. Why? Look, they're swarming. Look, they're swarming. Can you see the flies now? Wait, you can't because it uncovered the camera. Where are the flies now? Right. So yeah. So we know that you keep trying to bring on a Taylor Bonnie suit, even though Bonnie suit was with the public. That's the thing, you guys, is that since Bonnie suit was with the public, that you're trying to actively Breonna Taylor him. How are they trying to cover for it? By posting a bunch of smears in mainstream media against Bonnie Godoy, right? No, you can't. because some people have no choice but to whistle blow that that's a clone. It's like that's a clone. That's not the real Bonnie Sue. Why? Because real Bonnie Sue was doing this at the exact same time, and then you'll show that the real Bonnie Sue was doing something even more crazy than your clone. Anyway, also you have no choice but to show off the other clones that you're sex trafficking because you're sex trafficking clones of Bonnie Sue. I mean, that's how the real Bonnie Sue feels it. How does the real Bonnie Sue feel it? Because they do witchcraft, right? To bind Bonnie Sue to do sex trafficking with victims. So every time they get sex trafficked, the real Bonnie Sue feels it. Hey, magic is real. So everybody knows that they have magic they can turn a clone into a real human. How? It depends on who that DNA belongs to, right? Britney Spears, right? Who would win out in a fight? A Selena Gomez clone or a Bonnie Sue Godoy clone? A Bonnie Sue Godoy clone, since the real Selena Gomez was always a capital mutt. She was always a capital mutt who was never a real human being. So since she was never a real human being, she's a capital mutt that infiltrated Hollywood as a little baby. Yeah, she was a sex trafficker who's been sex trafficking since the Barney days. Yeah. Well, yeah, remember, that's how Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato met, and that's how she became famous as being Demi Lovato's lesser talented friend. There's Demi Lovato, the real human being who came out of Texas, Demetria, who's 100% a real human being who 100% can actually sing. Like that is her throat. So whenever she sings Skyscraper, whenever she sings 1729, that song is an anthem in the that's a survivor anthem, right? In the survivor community, anybody who's a victim of grooming or sex trafficking, like Bonnie Sue, that's an anthem. That's why I will shoot out a Bonnie Sue and I'll sing it as loud and as powerful as I feel like it. Because yeah, everybody knows that they're doing witchcraft on Bonnie Sue to make his vocal cords tense. That's what everybody knows when it comes to singing, right? You can never be nervous, but you can also never be overconfident. There's that one time where a demon was trying to sing through Bonnie Sue, but he was being overconfident. Why overconfident? Because you're a retarded nigger demon. You thought that just because you're in Bonnie Sue Godoy's body that you're going to sing just like him, right? No. You sang just like yourself. A body snatcher demon that's trying to use Bonnie Sue's instrument. But no, that instrument belongs to him and him only. That's why only Bonnie Sue can sound perfect when he's singing. Perfect. Who? Bonnie Sue. And only Bonnie Sue can sound perfect when he's singing. That's why Jessica Lee, right? Okay. So she's also a Lee, just one that's publicly out as a Lee. As in Bonnie Sue is a fucking Lee. And Bonnie Sue met a Lee yesterday, right? She's like, yeah, L-E, as in Bruce Lee, as in, oh, right now you're just bragging about it. Now you're just bragging about it. Are you fake bragging? Like, as in, are you even related to Bruce Lee at all? Are you from the same family? Are you pretending to be a Lee to get close to me? Right. So we're talking about three people that are Lees, supposedly. There's Jessica Lee, the one who's such a real Lee. I mean, she's such a real Lee, as in she got into Allstate, right? So she didn't get into nationals. Why? Because I don't know. Why didn't you sponsor her, right? Since Jessica got into Allstate, right? Everybody knows that four people got into Allstate that year, right? Janice Park got into Allstate. Janice Park got into Allstate. She didn't get into nationals. No, she did not. But Rebecca and Eric did. Never let us forget that Rebecca Hahn, Hahn, right? How do you pronounce her last name? Do you pronounce it like a Korean or like a Chinese, or how do you really? Because Rebecca Hahn is supposedly Korean. So I thought Rebecca was Korean. She looks Korean. You know what is it? She fucking looks Korean. So even though Han, but you're about to spin it to me as some sort of Chinese name, they're trying to lie to me and say the Han is a Chinese name. Maybe it's a Chinese name because they crossbred. Because they did crossbreeding, I know for a fact that it also counts as a Chinese name, right? There's some names that are only Chinese. Like Ming is Ming. Does it also double as a Japanese name because there's other Japanese people that infiltrate the Ming family? Right. Well, obviously, when it comes to the Lees, I'm going to have to brag and admit that that was an arranged marriage. Obviously, that was arranged. That was on purpose, right? So we did that to become more powerful. So we purposely bred with the Lees, right? Hong Wu saying, yeah, Hong Wu, that he's talking to his comrades. He's like, yes, and we know that we crossbred with the Lees on purpose. Okay, right. So that's why everybody in the Asian community knows that Bonnie Sue is also a Lee, a Lee, a Lee. Now, a Lee is in a Japanese way or a Chinese. Are they one of those Chinese people that just infiltrated the Lee family? Or are they one of those Chinese people that got married and married into the Lee family? I don't know. Because the cats, can I tell you that the cat's been begging? For some reason, they took away his ability to jump. So the cat lost his ability to jump because the cats are notorious jumpers. They're known not to jumping onto people's laps for no fucking reason. Especially if you have ADHD. If you're an ADHDer, you see how Bicycle just rambles and rambles and rambles, and the cat will be jumping on his lap. And it's like, what the? And it's like, Bicycle, look, it's the cat. Where? On your lap right now. It's like, whoa. There's a beautiful British short hair that's on my elbow. I don't know why. Like, when did I get British short hair? I don't remember getting British short hair. Well, don't go that far back. No, you remember. No, you remember. You're not the real Bonnie Sue. You're just pretending to be Bonnie Sue. You know who you are, nigger. You know who you are. Didn't you take away Freya's ability to jump so he couldn't even whistle blow on himself? That's what happens every time Bonnie was in a trance in the middle of a time warp. Well, obviously since they're a Rocky alum, they got Cassius riffraff. Hello, 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 hello. Why are you upset? Why are you upset, mere earthling? Disrupting the channel between Bonnie Sue Godoy and the real riffraff. Bonnie Sue is with the Frank community. Bobby Sue is a Frankenfurter, not a male riffraff. Everybody knows that riffraff is an FBI, right? So if you read into the lore of Rocky Horror, everybody knows that Rocky Horror is an actual very advanced manifesto. That's why, because the people who made that movie were evil because it was written from the perspective of FBIers. So since it was written from the perspective of FBIers, that's why it was a box office bomb, even though it's an amazing hit. Now in the future, it was a box office bomb the year it came out. We purposely waited until it left the theaters. We all pirated. What did we all do? What all the real Transylvanians? We're Transylvanians for Transylvania, huh? Boom. And that's why the boom, exactly. And then the real magenta started what? Disturbing the flies. Quick, disturb them now. But wait, there's more. Witchcraft is real. That's why. Quick, magenta. Magenta did that, right? Transylvania, huh? Boom. And then immediately started disturbing all of Bonnie Sue's flies. And all the flies are starting acting frantic. The flies are acting around looking all frantic. Right. Because some of these flies are infiltrators. Some of these flies are fake flies. Some of these flies are coon flies. And we let you infiltrate on purpose. Because now that we know for a fact that this is all real and that Frankenfurter wasn't just some drag queen that was demonized to be turned into some evil, like, no, right? No, Frankenfurter comes from an entire planet of Transylvanians. So we know who he was back in Transylvania, right? Who he was back in Transylvania. And what do they say? What do they say? Riff Raff and Magenta that they've been wanting to return to Transylvania. They want to. So when will we finally return to Transylvania? Huh? Because that's why is that Riff and right before the end got spoiled, and we find out that they're not on the same side. Throughout most of the movie, right, we see that what that Riff is some piece of shit that's undercover as his butler, and Magenta is also another person who's doubling as the maid, who's an agent, who's undercover as his maid. And who's that? Frankenfurter. Who is Frankenfurter really? What does anybody know about the real Frankenfurter? That evil scientist that they said was based off of Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein. Right, Frankenfurter. He's the evil scientist. And what's his experiment? What's his abomination of an experiment? Yeah, Rocky, Rocky. That's the things that everybody knows that Bonnie Sue met Tim Curry. How? Telepathically they met. Because even in a world where Tim Curry is like wheelchair bound, which unfortunately is this one, for some reason Tim Curry's wheelchair bound, right? Why is he wheelchair bound? Because Bonnie Sue became a fan when he was already wheelchair bound, right? I mean, Bonnie Sue was born in the year 2000. When did Bonnie Sue become a fan of? Well, let's look at pictures of Tim Curry circa 2009 when they went viral again because of Glee. Right, because Rocky Horror kind of faded into the background. As in, Rocky Horror was like a mainstream entity when Bonnie Sue became a fan, but they became a fan again. But they became mainstream again because of Glee, because that one episode of Glee. That's a very creepy episode because it's all about they're trying to get a bunch of high schoolers to do Rocky Horror, but everybody knows it's not okay. No, because they're a bunch of sex people. Like they're a bunch of sex freaks, like sex traffickers, like sex workers. I mean, we all know what this musical is about. Isn't Frankenfurter that evil sex trafficker alien? He's like an evil sex trafficker alien who leaves Transylvania on a mission to infiltrate Earth. Right? That's why there's like some sort of evil mission or some sort of mission, right? That Frankenfurter, Riffraff, and Magenta were in on, right? That's why Magenta's like telepathically, he's like, I'm tired of this. Why don't you go back to Transylvania? Huh? 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 When will we go back to Transylvania? End the stream right now, and then we're gonna go.